Hey, welcome once again to C9K, where we talk all things containers, Kubernetes, cloud native, cybersecurity, hot trends, WTFs, big money, and every week we dive into some technology. My name is Steve Giguere.
And I'm his co-host, Mike Foster, and we have a packed show for you today. Open Terraform Foundation. Steve's giving us a live breakdown of Aqua's Tracee and NIST 800 guidelines have come out. Thanks for joining the show. Yes, welcome to C9K, your bi-weekly Friday live stream, hosted by yours truly and Steve Giguere, where we talk about everything in cloud native security, WTFs, a little big spender, you know, everything. And then obviously a demo at the end. Host Steve's on the chopping block for the demo today.
Yep, fingers crossed. Didn't go that smoothly.
Didn't go that smoothly. Well, yeah, I mean, getting online is part of the process, right? So.
Damn right.
All right.
All right.
And,
so we dive right in. You got some exciting ad hoc news about yourself at all? How's it going?
Yeah, we'll dive right in. But as always, just all the links are in the description. So click away if you want to follow along with us. Without further ado, let's get into the news.
All right. First main article I threw in here. A lot of this stuff came in at the last minute because I got up this morning and was just looking at the news and it was just like, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. You're gone. You're gone. You're gone. Yeah, it was. The shiny keys of cybersecurity were jingling in front of me this morning. And this was posted. I saw it on LinkedIn, posted by Chris Hughes, who actually I think was involved in its creation because he, I think, is one of the advisors to Testify Sec, who are contributing authors. NIST's strategies for the integration of software supply chain security in DevSecOps CICD pipelines. That is doing some serious buzzword bingo just in the title.
Yeah, no kidding. And for context, NIST 800 levels mean what, Steve? What's the
NIST 800 level documents to do with cybersecurity are generally SOCs get them, they read them. This is what they do if you're in terms of implementing cybersecurity. The NIST 800 level series documents are kind of the standard, bit of gold standard guidelines for how, as opposed to just saying you should do this. So this is so new. It's what they published August 30th. This is the 31st. Broadcasting. Oh, we're recording on the 31st for the first. We're saying that this is so fresh. I've just downloaded the PDF. I haven't even looked at it, but the abstract kind of says it. This document outlines strategies for integrating software supply chain SSC security measures into CICD pipelines. Okay. I mean, this is what we've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
And I am curious myself to get in here and maybe do a review of this document, perhaps for a further episode.
Yeah, I got to think that this is based on all the SALSA levels in some. I mean, just look at the keywords: artifact, attestation, CI/CD pipeline, provenance, repository, SBOM, SDLC, SALSA, software supply chain. Right? Like this is the government's version of what they think SALSA should be. Yeah, yep. Hopefully without overprescribing, another framework. But something that is going to have a bigger impact than, let's say, some of just the general guidance that we've seen over the last couple months/years, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It could be a big win for the folks at ChainGuard and some of the products and frameworks that they've been putting forth. So, to be seen.
Yeah, that's a great segue too. Because speaking of ChainGuard, coming up next, they have a big release. A bombshell, literal bombshell.
Hey, very well done.
All right, I'll see myself.
Only 40 stars. Thank you. I can click a button and remove you from the show. ChainGuard's bombshell, an S-bomb query language and associated utilities, whatever that means. It's only got 40 stars, not exactly traction right now. And I think we talked about this just before. We're kind of going, wait, what's it for? When we have some hot takes a little bit on what it's for, query language to work with S-bombs and evaluate expressions called recipes. What that looks like, I don't know yet. Operating on an S-bomb graph, I'm guessing it creates to extract, rearrange, or remix data in any format. And I still don't quite know what that means, other than I've seen some epically, ridiculously big S-bombs generated that make it almost impossible to traverse and understand what's really there.
I mean, they do have a bombshell tutorial, so maybe this is my next tool time.
Ooh,
in 2 weeks. I'll put it up there. In 2 weeks, I'll give you a rundown of bombshell. It's very experimental, so if I see some hiccups, I'm going to pick something else up, but see you in 2 weeks for a bombshell review. But yeah, again, very quick, 40 stars, no real release on LinkedIn. Didn't see any noise getting made about this. Very interesting. Puerco, we've seen involved in a lot of different security repositories on GitHub, so it's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it has potential. I mean, with the mandating of S-bombs in the USA, and then this year in collaboration, let's say, or in concert with the fact that an S-bomb is meaningless. You just pass it around.
Who's responsible for
it? Who's responsible for it? Is there anything bad in it? Doesn't matter. I gave you one. So maybe this is the next level. Maybe. Not too sure.
Yeah, and I think something like this, like let's say this is a formatter. It could be picked up by other security tools, let's say the Aquas, the Palos, to go and say, give me any S-bomb, and I'm going to format it in the way that I like, and I'm going to display it in my cloud platform tool. But being able to just pick up an S-bomb and reformat it / rejig it is pretty tough.
It is. And also, who cares? Don't know yet.
Very true. All right. Speaking, let's get into some CNCF news. By the way, KubeCon is coming up. Did you get any talks selected? I didn't.
No.
So maybe I'll do Cloud Native rejects, but yes, in Chicago, I think the first week in November, I'll be there.
Yep.
You're watching
6th to 8th, so will I.
Yeah. Ping me. We will get a beer. Until then, there is some news in the Cloud Native space, and Kubeflow is now in
that's amazing, actually, because Kubeflow is like 5-6 years old. And when did it join? Do you remember? It's probably in the article. But
I'm not sure. I think it was originally developed by Google in 2017. That was like right around when I got into Kubernetes.
Yeah,
and that makes sense.
That's early. Yeah. Similar, I think, associated is TensorFlow and PyTorch, other ML ops style, but not for Kubernetes. But it's super mature. Like, one thing caught my eye in this article. I'm going to go all the way down to the notable milestones. 28,000 GitHub stars, 150 companies, 15,000 committers. Yeah, I think you've done well. We'll upgrade you.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue was they didn't have other companies that were committing to Kubeflow. Part of incubation means you have to have a certain amount of other companies that are invested in the product. This was purely run by Google and purely open source by Google at the beginning, which is why it had a lot of traction too. It fit a specific use case. It was a little unwieldy at the beginning, but now it's pretty solid.
Oh, cool. I didn't know if you'd used it. I've never used it. I'm not an ML guy, but I know people who love it. So
yeah. And then on to, I'm not going to even bring us out onto the next one. CNCF graduates, what is it? Kubernetes event-driven auto-scaling. The project has formally graduated.
I have both articles here. I've got this one too. I've got the one from Canada as well. Yeah, I don't, it's an autoscaler. Again, another thing I've never used, but I could see that why it was good. Got accepted as a sandbox project 3 years ago, and now it is next level. What do we call it?
Next level.
Graduating. Wow, graduating. Okay.
Yeah, Steve brought this up. He's like, doesn't Kubernetes have auto scaling built in? Like, yeah, but it's reactive and it's only for 2 features, which is memory and CPU. You want, let's say you want something where certain amount of network traffic triggered something, or a certain amount of a time, like you know that you're going to need to scale up at 5 p.m. So you do it at 5. Those sorts of use cases are what this covers, which is extremely useful if you have a project that expands rapidly or has some very unique metrics. Let's say it has to scale by.
Yeah. It's amazing that the CNCF graduated project, I was trying to get my head around it, right? That's the order of operations. What makes you graduated?
Yeah.
And
Sandbox, incubation, graduation, right?
yeah. So like Kubernetes is graduated. Oh, okay. I guess it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was the first one. I think Prometheus was the second project to graduate.
Yeah.
But it's very strict. And I actually had a call with a reporter about this, asking like, why is the process so successful for CNCF? And I said, the fact that multiple different companies have to actually contribute to it, make it more secure, and makes it so that there's more investment. They know they have project fit, and they're getting a lot of feedback from multiple different areas, instead of, just because Kubeflow is a great project doesn't mean it should be graduated if only Google has its strings on it,
Yeah, good point.
All right. On to the last one.
Yeah, which is, did I even put it in here?
There's a cyber attack on UK. This should be the next one, or I think you moved that one.
Oh, no.
Go for it.
So this is one that isn't in the list that got, this should be a, what do you want to call it? This. That's when I invoke a cut and paste attack on our schedule and put something in that wasn't normally here. This is Amazon VPC is now a CNI supporting the Kubernetes network policies. So you can control, and essentially you can plug it into EKS, and Amazon VPC can be your CNI. And
so you don't have to talk to Kubernetes about it. You can do it at the UI level whenever you're interacting with it.
It's an Amazon provisionable resource now. And what's super fascinating about this, I'm going to scroll down before we get back to this. It is an eBPF based CNI. It is a Cilium copy. I'm not saying that. Who said that? I didn't say that.
Or are they paying Cilium? But yeah, something's fishy about because you think of the functionality that would have to be built in. It must be using.
It's eBPF. It's CNI. It's not using IP tables like Kubernetes policies do. It's a policy-based, eBPF-based CNI that part of the Amazon VPC plugin, I call it that. So it's got loads of instructions on how to do it. That's way beyond us right now, but I just thought, ooh, when I saw that yesterday, shiny Amazon resource-based CNI that looks like what's another eBPF-based CNI other than Cilium? That's it, right? And now then suddenly Amazon's got one that's eBPF based, which is crazy fast and has policies. I think it's certainly worth exploration. So I got very excited about that.
Yeah, drama.
Yes. So that is
breaking.
That's the breaking news I snuck in there. I should have put it after the cyber attack on electoral registers, but I got drag happy and it didn't get in there.
It's all good. We'll get to it. Now you get to talk about a cyber attack on your homestead.
Yeah, I missed this one. It was a couple of weeks ago because I wasn't in the UK, so I didn't catch the articles from the Big British Castle. The Elections Watchdog revealed it was the victim of a complex cyber attack. The Electoral Commission was hacked, and apparently people had been there for almost 2 years, August 2021. That's 2 years. And they just noticed that data was extracted of anyone who registered to vote, and even the ones who said, keep me off the register, their information's gone too, which kind of says something about how they store information, right? They've got information that people have asked specifically to be private, and that doesn't appear to be stored any different from the information of people who are oh, whatever.
Yikes. Don't trust people with your information.
It looks super bad. But the last line says, the Electoral Commission isn't saying who it was, brackets, if they even know. They just know that the information they found.
Would they disclose it even if they did know?
I don't know. I mean, they've disclosed the information, so it's very bad. That's the be all and end all of that. I don't know what you can do with it. They did say that this is clearly not an extortion attack because they had the information years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll trust you for a follow-up. This kind of leads into the spicy hot take pretty well. Get ready.
Let's do it.
All right. Yes, it's me for the spicy hot take of the day. This one I can't take all credit for, but I'm going to roll with it anyways. Spicy hot take. You can't be secure by being off the grid in today's day and age. You need to have some sort of presence in order to enable yourself to be more secure. And I'll give you a couple examples. If somebody is off the grid by themselves doing their own thing, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that I can't impersonate them, know where they are, go and create a Facebook account, talk to all their relatives. Well, they're not online. So that means that I can just go and create a presence because there's nobody there. So it actually benefits you to have some online presence, a Facebook account and all this stuff, set your email so that if somebody tries to impersonate you, you can appeal to the authorities or to the people at B to get them kicked off. It also means that people know who to contact whenever anything's gone wrong. So just by giving a little bit of information about yourself, by giving a certain amount, it actually stops certain easier hacks, social engineering hacks from happening. Another example is, I'll give a personal one, is I have a camera that faces my front door and a camera that faces out. Now, whenever I talk to different generations, they're like, you have a camera in your house? That's weird. And it's like, yeah, but I know exactly who comes in and out of the house. I can control certain things. I know when the lights go on. I know when all this stuff happens. If you are halfway on a trip and you think you locked your front door, you're going to call somebody to go and fix it. I don't have that issue unless the Wi-Fi goes out. But again, like I know when something like that happens. So I am giving up a little sense of freedom in that, but I also get more security. Now, the tricky part is how much you give and how much you allow people to take. Obviously, some things are forced, some things are out of your control, but you kind of have to use the tools that you have in modern day and age. And by just having a small online presence and giving up a certain amount of information, it'll make you more secure in the long run. And that is my spicy hot take for the day. Yes.
I like it. Comment down below if you disagree with Michael Foster.
Yeah, don't try to impersonate. You don't get any funny ideas. See you.
Yeah, you just basically gave some instructions, told people to go out there, find whatever social network you're on, and be you.
Yeah, it's hard. It's annoying.
Yeah.
All right.
It's annoying being here with you.
On to the WTF of the day. Bad people doing bad things.
Bad people doing bad things. North Korean hackers suspected of a new wave of malicious NPM packages. NPM is a great attack vector. I shouldn't say that, but it is for supply chain attacks. It has one of the biggest repositories of dependencies out there. In this particular case, it's a mix of how many packages? 9 new packages that were uploaded. Some sort of typo squatting, some manipulation of existing packages, which is fascinating. Some utilizing a variety of different methods, just some with embedded baddies things, and some using the post-install hooks that come with NPM, which in itself is a great attack vector. If you understand how that works, you can run your own code. So there's a whole bunch of what they're once again calling sophisticated attacks. It's not crazy sophisticated really, but how do you get people to use your typo squatting is a whole other, as they even say here, a social engineering aspect involved to get targets to install these packages. They look like something, they look cool. How do you get people to actually use your baddie packages in the first instance if they're not actual manipulations of actual packages? Well, you know what? I don't know. I can't comment on how they're getting people to use them, but nevertheless, they were discovered and being used as being used. So they are there. And this is not the first time. They also, in this article, refer back to something actually we covered on the show back in June, which again was NPM packages and suspected North Korean attackers.
Da, da, da.
I feel like I just hot taked NPM as a great attack vector.
Yeah, it would be a good topic for a future show. Break down all of the NPM vulnerability aspects, maybe.
That'd be our. I'll be there. We'd be there all day.
Okay. All right, on to the next one. This has come up a couple times. I know. Is this a hot take? Kubernetes isn't always the right choice. We've been talking about this for the last 2 years, but it's making waves again, so it's back.
Let's do it. Kubernetes isn't always the right choice. This is yeah, go for it. I love this.
Yeah, it's exactly it. This is by Raxiva. I'm not sure. I do like the breakdown. It's not a super long blog, but it's pretty in depth. Just at the top, the 1, 2, 3, 4. So is my team composition a fit for Kubernetes? Small startups with cloud native applications will find direct management complex, right? Enterprise teams with variety application types, you need specialized skills because there's so many different types of applications, right? But you know, the mid-sized company with a couple applications, maybe some storage stuff, the use case will fit. You don't need too many tools. You don't need to overgrow it, right? And then again, like larger enterprises have the ability to create greenfield opportunities where they'll bring it into the, let's say, the newest application in the stack, and that makes the most sense. And then they'll work backwards once they have a good fit and they have a couple people that are able to use it. I think that the hot take is just the fact that it's coming out now. Like, why? This has been known for 6 years, right? But I've seen article after article about it. And that's why I'm like, what's your thought? Why is this the thing that we're talking about now that it's not always the right choice?
Yeah, it's like Istio. It always comes back to Istio. How much hype is around it, and you feel like you got serious technology FOMO. And the reality is, I mean, I like. It's funny you mentioned the first bit. I quite like the bottom bit where you're somewhat, do you need it? Is it complex? Are you a simple monolith? Like that's. Yeah, did you lift and shift? You don't need it. You don't even need a container, probably. There's a lot of a good list of checklists, let's say, of are we just adding complexity through Kubernetes?
Yeah. I think that the biggest thing is, can you containerize your application? Like I get comments and calls with people where they're like, oh, we have a Windows container that we want to run on Kubernetes. It's like, okay, so you have like a couple Windows applications, and that's like, you're way better. They just move it over. If you can't lift it, then just put it in a VM and let it run next to Kubernetes. Yeah. But why are you going through all of that hassle for what? Doesn't make sense.
Because I'm afraid.
The hype train continues.
Whoop, whoop. All right. Where are we going here?
Security chaos.
Oh yeah, I put this in here. It's a couple weeks old because I saw the title. Security monitoring in 2023, untangling the chaos. I'm like, hell yeah. I cannot wait for this guy to show me how simple it is. And in this blog post, I will, and he went through and I'm like, okay, 3 groups: sources of information, best practices, and aggregation. Okay, cool. Like it so far. And then I got to his diagram and I'm like, sources, practices, aggregation. Cool. And I did not find this, but I mean, it's untangled. There's a lot of lines that connect directly. But getting real tangled real fast as I scroll down here. I'm going, this is the untangled version of monitoring. And I'm like, you know what? It probably is, actually. And I like diagrams and checklists.
It's very thorough. Give them that.
And it's thorough. It's a good article. So once again, I mean, I'm not breaking this down. This is a breakdown. I can't possibly break it down again. But I'd say go check this out in the links. If you're having trouble with monitoring and security in AWS, yeah, you probably are.
I think my WTF take here is when you go to read an auditor report, or let's say something from Gartner, and they're like, oh, these different companies, they have all this different functionality. Great. Next question. How do I get them all? Do I have to go through 5 different dashboards to get the same functionality as like one security product? If the answer is yes, well, then you can't rank them in the same spot on your little map, guys. Come on. So come on. That's the WTF, is just the fact that you need all of this description instead of being like, okay, I have all this, I hate saying single pane of glass, but I did it. it does matter.
Single glass of pain. Let's move on.
Too much pain. Yes, we need to move on. All right, what's next?
We have I think our final WTF, which is a biggie.
Yes.
OpenTF has been created August 25th. The fork of Terraform has been created. Finally, the oppressors will feel the might of OpenTF. I never think it's a good thing when you say the word manifesto.
I was just thinking that. Doesn't it sound super serious? It's like
it sounds messed up. It sounds like we're
dun,
going to war. Yeah. Like the Agile Manifesto came out, and that didn't sound good. That's a showing my age scenario there. But there we go. Our concern, and this is the best thing to read: the little boldy bits, right? Do you say BUSL or do you say bustle? Bustle sounds good.
Yeah.
But anyway, changing it from Mozilla to the business. What's the U stand for? Business Source License, but just BU is business. Fine.
Yeah.
You could just call it BSL, but that's probably something else. Poison pill for Terraform. We talked about this like last show.
For open, it's a poison pill for open source Terraform. That's what they should have said.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
Right.
Even that, it's like, I don't know. I mean, the other one, our goal to ensure Terraform remains truly open source always. Cue some forgetting the band who sang the song always. Our request to HashiCorp switch Terraform back to an open source license. Our fallback plan, fork Terraform. So it's a threat. Fork Terraform into a foundation. Truly open source, community driven, impartial, etc., etc. Contact them at pledge@opentf.org if you have a comment on this amazing manifesto.
Yeah, I mean, so this is just going to be interesting because it's another layer. I mean, they're not going to open source it. Going business source license is not a poison pill for Terraform. It's a poison pill for open source Terraform because HashiCorp was doing 97% of the engineering work. So it's kind of like, well, if HashiCorp went bankrupt tomorrow and the engineers decide not to work on the project, that's also a poison pill. So, they also need to make sure that they employ their engineers and that the project continues to remain moving forward. Now, that's the two double-sided coin argument there. But listen, they're going to fork it. They're going to watch to see what HashiCorp does, and then they're going to take some of their contributions and move it downstream. And the support and probably code base is just going to fall behind, but it's not like it's going to die. It's already a full-fledged product, right? You can use it for free. It's just that, they want to safeguard their product and make sure that people aren't making money off it, like Pulumi, et cetera. But you have things like Wing Lang and stuff like that coming out to sort of ruffle the feathers moving forward. I think it's there's a bunch of competitors and it opens up space. Sometimes it's good to shake it up.
Yeah.
Any other further thoughts before we start spending some money?
No. Let's spend some money.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. First one, Project Discovery raises $25 million to launch a cloud version of its threat scanning platform. Project Discovery is pretty cool. I know the guys, the research team here that I work with, love it. So, I there is like an online version of it, which I haven't got my head around. Would make a good, like what they've launched would make a good tool time. That's going to go on the list. Their Nuclei project. So that's what we're looking at. So that's pretty cool. We have, how do we summarize them? What do you know about Project Discovery?
I mean, so Socket we talked about last month, who recently got seed funding, I think 20 million, right? Endor Labs is obviously in there. When you talk about exploit discovery tools, it really is, where, how, and how it's going to be implemented. Is this at the developer level? Is this like the developers merge it and this rolls through the entire application and tells you what can be exploitable from API to the underlying vulnerabilities? How that happens is it's going to be interesting. I think that Sneak has showed there's a market fit for these types of tools, and now it's a race to the bottom between all of those companies, because while Sneak is good, I've heard mixed reviews about its implementation, how well it scales, etc.
Yeah,
So
I think
there's some space
this
for
is the
us.
actual product. I think so too. There is, so this is Nuclei. Nuclei is their project, and Nuclei Cloud is in beta. So I think this is you have to sign up. I don't have this link
Join
below, but this is, I think,
waitlist.
join a waitlist. So this is it, and I think it'll be fun once this launches to have a play on the show with it.
I was going to say, get on the waitlist and have somebody come demo it for us.
Yeah, maybe contact them and get them to give us an early demo themselves would be pretty awesome.
All right. But yes,
All right,
I mean,
moving on.
It's a pretty good amount of funding.
Yeah. Kivera enters the U.S. market with 3.5 seed funding. Who are they? You know them? Cloud
I'm not
security
sure,
company
but
Kivera.
yeah, they came up with an acronym, CSPP now. So that's another term that's going to come up in analyst reports for some random reason. Cloud Security Protection Platform. Now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, security teams using cloud security tools like cloud security posture management are swamped in a backlog of misconfiguration detections that gets bigger every day. Kivera's CSPP is poised to flip this paradigm and start moving customers from a detective to a preventative security posture by preventing these misconfigurations from happening in the first place.
What's a bridge crew did?
Yeah, I mean, so let's say you're a whiz and you can go and look at all these configurations. I'm assuming that the next step is just to, push things into GitHub to say, okay, fix this. Like if you have everything as IAC, then you're just making that change. So yeah, I'd say it is like a bridge crew.
It's exactly
that's the way it's getting marketed.
USP of bridge crew. Yeah. Okay. Well, bridge crew's been acquired, so the space is open. I think it makes complete sense that someone comes in doing the exact thing that they used to do. That's sensible, I think.
Mm-hmm. And then last but not least, we have Cerby, which is kind of a funny name. What do you think of it? Cerby.
I don't know. We just acquired a company called Cider. Who am I to comment on? We're running out of names, so whatever. Yeah. 17 million.
17 million Series A brings the total funding up to 32.5. So they had a pretty big seed round.
Yeah, that is pretty huge. Yeah. Cerby unique. You read this before we even started. What if you could lower your risk of breach by upwards of 15% without adding a single person to your security team? Okay. Nice pitch.
Yeah, I wonder where they get that number from too.
The air, maybe. Research for there we go. Research from the Poneman Institute found that non-standard applications generate 11 to 15% of breaches. There you go. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Upwards of 15%. They do not support common identity and security standards such as SAML, etc. Shadow ID. Without security approvals. Okay, so this is about identity management and provider security. It looks like to me, but yeah, obviously doing very well. One of the guys I used to work with at Palo Alto, I believe, is one of the founders.
What is it?
Was head of application. So, what's that?
What is a non-standard application? Just that term is funny.
You got me. I do not know what a non-standard. What's a standard application?
I don't know.
The main page of Cerby says manage access to all your apps with no exceptions, from finance to social media. Gaps in applications don't work with your identity provider, bringing you visibility and security to all your apps. Okay. Yeah, sort of clear, but sort of not clear.
Maybe we'll sign up for that one too. But we have 2 sections left. We have cookie time, and of course, Steve going through Tracee. So stay tuned.
Now, what starts with the letter C?
Contrast security. Well done.
0 day time.
Another one. Yeah, this one, August 30th. Another one that came out this morning. Saw it on LinkedIn, reported by Jeff Williams of Contrast. covering a Spring Kafka deserialization 0-day. What a surprise. There's a deserialization in something to do with Spring and Apache Kafka, because that is, well, a deserialization issue in an Apache product. That was Equifax a few years ago. And it looks like we have a similar scenario today. The CVE, there it is, 2023-34040 has been assigned. What is insecurity serialization? When you deserialize and it gets instantiated into a runnable object, and a remote code execution happens, in a nutshell. So we apply a deserialization check. So I would assume that if you're using this, you want to start upgrading now, because if there's a fix for it and there is a POC that can exploit it, it's more on this because it's probably in the wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it says 2 customers reached out to Contrast about the 0-day after Contrast had flagged it. Both companies had the vulnerable configuration enabled as well. So there might be yet more customers affected, but they haven't flagged it to Contrast as a positive false positive, as a potential false positive.
They haven't, or they have?
Well, people might have it, but they haven't reached out. That's what they're saying. So they're saying like there's a configuration way to protect against it, and then there's also the fix. So
right, good point.
Do both.
There you go. Do both. Excellent.
Yeah.
Contrast. Moving
Great
on.
work.
Ready?
Great find. Yeah. Are you ready? That is the question.
Never. We'll see.
Does everybody know what time it is?
All right. Let me get my ducks in a row here. Yeah. Throw my screen up.
All right. He's ready. Almost. I'm not ready.
Disconnected or not. I'm using Cloud Shell. Let me reconnect my Cloud Shell because there's going to be a bunch of junk. Cloud Shell was great because it had the right version of Python to use G-Cloud and everything instead of my laptop. So I thought, great, I'll use it for the demo. And then as we started the show, I thought, what the timeout is on this?
10, 15 minutes.
It's 10, 15 minutes if you don't click anything. So now my Cloud Shells are all been kicked out. So you're going to see the more thorough version of this than you might have wanted to see. But Tracee was released. Ooh, boy, what do you think? 3. I was working there at the time, so a while ago, I would say. 5 years ago or so. It's only on. You made this comment recently. It's on 0.17.1. It's not at a 1.0 yet, and neither is
Aqua never moved their open source projects to 1.
No. It's fascinating. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's eBPF monitoring, very, very, very similar to Sysdig or Falco. You install it and it will monitor. You can run it very easily. Let's just say this isn't what I did. They had a version where you can just run it as a container, but I was more, given the nature of our wonderful C9K show, running it in Kubernetes, because when I was there, it wasn't a Kubernetes enabled project yet. It was something you had to do manually, install it on the node, etc. Right? Okay. And now they have the installation to install and verify using Helm. I've already done all the Helm stuff. I haven't done the install on this particular cluster.
Ooh,
I am running a independently installed manual cluster in G-Cloud. Okay. So I'm not using a service of any kind, and there's a reason for that. I'll explain that in like 2 seconds. What I do need to do though is go back to my here and just leap into my cloud on each.
So
one.
manually installed. So you got like 2 or 3 VMs, and you hooked up a Kubernetes cluster to those virtual machines in the cloud.
That's essentially what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why you have a set zone.
Yeah, and I'm just setting up 2 so I can monitor and manipulate at the same time. And this was done. You probably see the name of it. It's called CKS Master. Reason for that being, this is the one I used to practice for the CKS.
Okay.
It still exists. There's almost nothing in it. because I've kind of cleared it out. The install is pretty straightforward. I had to add all the Helm stuff, and then you just kind of run this one line. Let's actually see if it still works. Oh, there we go. Hold on. I do have to make it so that I can even see it. Do I have that? Get pods. Yeah. Let's do this. Nothing when it disconnects, which is annoying. I don't have the cube config anymore. I'm going to super cheat here. Oh, okay.
Sudo.
Oh my God. Yeah. Don't do this at home, kids. This is a good lesson in hacking, because if you're ever on a master and you don't know where the kube config is to manipulate it, now you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably a question on the right. You'll see evidence of my previous attempts to break things. Helm is probably going to be a pain in the butt. I mean, now sometimes Helm doesn't want to run as root. Let's see if it'll be happy with me. Yeah, it's fine.
Sweet.
Okay.
Deployed logs. Very cool. All right. So you have another one running now. Yeah.
Oh, it was previously there? I thought I killed it.
Yeah, it was running up. So now you have one that's 21 hours, and you have another one at 8 seconds here that you just deployed.
Well, either way, it'll be fine.
Yeah, the one in the default. Really not happy.
No, that's the tester, and that was a failure. But I'm gonna say this: there's a reason why I'm running this on my own, is because I tried running it, because the example is running as Minikube, and we know Minikube it spins up. You have to have a VM environment on your laptop or whatever, and then Minikube runs within that, which then made me think, okay, right. So that means I need to install it as a container, which is what it's done, and how it needs to get its eBPF, so it needs to install in the node somehow. So what's it doing in order to make that happen? And I was a little bit suspicious of it. And this is me looking up. Do Tracee. GitHub. I had this in another tab, but I'll just go back. Tracee. So I started digging into how it deploys. This is another little breakdown on it. Not Helm. Let's do Kubernetes Tracee and do Tracee. Which you tell me you think about this as a practice. When I find it, it's running as privileged, and I was not.
It has to run as privileged, right? I mean, if it's going to block certain events at the kernel level,
well,
eBPF,
it has to install on the node, and
yeah,
I thought looking at the code to see how it works. I assumed it had privilege is a big deal. There it is.
Yeah, security context, true.
Yeah. So it's got access to everything, and it does. And you look at the mount list that's in it. It's running on the node. It's essentially executing what we would consider to be a container breakout.
Yeah.
So that it can actually be running. And sometimes people don't like that, but I'm just making you aware that's essentially is happening. In order to monitor it, very simple, interacting with Tracee. There's a lot of different ways you can monitor it, but the simple way for the demo is just to check out the logs, and it's dancing away, detecting anything and everything that's actually happening. So much so that I need to shut it down.
I was going to say, is this useful? Or just, I guess, to output it to a log and then...
Well, have you ever looked at what happens when you run Falco or you run
same stuff
on a cluster? Depending on the rules, you get the same level of insanity going on there.
Yeah, I'm assuming that those are default configuration things it's looking for that's getting flagged. default
essentially
policies.
that's what's happening. That is, and there are a list of default policies. We just go to the, let's do, there's a mistake on that line, just there. But we'll get past that. Maybe I could do a submission. It says, hey. I'm gonna have to do this. Damn it. Seconds ago, this was all done. I've been making my window slow because there's so much stuff happening in the other window.
Yeah, you could just stop the logs.
I did control C it.
Oh, okay.
It's
Still too, yeah.
It's so far behind because there's so much stuff going on that it's not actually done. These are default policies. Anyway, you've got global scope, standard I over socket, which is the fact that I'm here now on a node is firing is against policy.
Yeah.
API connections against policy. Like a lot of the action happening here is because I'm over here. I'm on a node that is active, that is being monitored by eBPF. But you can see ptrace code execution, dismount. It does, it looks for fileless malware out of the box. Anytime I do a sudo, it uses, interesting, there's LD preload, which is actually used by a lot of security tool agents. So I think it would fire a lot off of both security and monitoring tools that are looking to monitor what's happening inside a cluster. Docker abuse. It's got a really good list of out of the box events without you having to do anything at all, which I thought, and I would imagine that's the sort of thing that they're constantly adding and manipulating. And you can, if you want to mess with it, you can edit and add your own, which is quite nice. You can come in here. It's a config map that generates a YAML file that then becomes part of the daemon set that's running within it. You do have to reset the daemon set. You have to do a rollover and
upgrade,
relaunch it, and it will then relaunch itself with the new items. But you can create any YAML file you want. This is just called signatures. This is the default. You could just delete some of the events if you want. These are the built-in ones, and then it goes down to nothing. Do a rollover, and it's good to go. So it's pretty cool. Like I could shut this out by just deleting all these events but one, and do a rollover, and then it would quiet down.
Does this have like a hook into a Prometheus or a Grafana? Any chance?
Yeah, you can see deploy the Tracee Grafana dashboard, Tracee Prometheus Grafana, run Tracee with metrics enabled, scrape Tracee, etc. This is surprising because when I first played with this 5 years ago, none of this was here.
Yeah,
it was a basic run it and see what happened. You can do prompting on Loki as well. Yeah, saying Tracee logs through that. It's got a lot of pretty cool integrations for being a 0.17.1. What's interesting in the docs generally was that looking at the idea of policy, which also wasn't here originally, you can create rules with different scopes. You can create events like drop executable, a file open, give it a filter.
Yeah, so we only care about certain files. Yeah.
Yeah, I think right now it has a very global scope out of the box.
Yeah.
But the number of scopes you can do is pretty comprehensive too, because you've got global, process-based, PID-based. And you can do, what's interesting though also is that some of the scopes also appear as filters and rules. Is it rules or filters? Rules. Oh, filters went too low. Because there's a good example of where I've got a filter on PID 1000, whereas I could have just done my scope as PID 1000.
Oh, interesting.
And then kind of the same thing. So there's a bit of overlap between filters and rules as they can be created. But a lot of different rules that are in place. The pod name space. Like this is a pretty reasonable list, and scopes, and then style of. I didn't really get into output formats. It's just a table at the moment, or JSON, like a JSON list. I would imagine you can plug yourself into what this is creating and just process it, post-process it.
Mhm.
But I haven't really seen in depth how to take. Let's see if it's even stopped yet. All right, how to take this information.
Yeah, and format it in a proper way. Because I know that Prometheus and Grafana, like you can have this, or even Loki, you can have this sent into Loki and then even fine filtered after. So you can take all the metadata out and just say, here's the container, here's what's happening, go take a look at this, which now it becomes pretty useful if you set all that up.
Yeah. So my out of the box discovery is that the rules, the scopes, the filtering are pretty amazing. It would be cool. I think it'd be cool if this was also part as an option within like CKS to say, how do I monitor my cluster using a VPN? Because this was really easy to set up. Whereas like sometimes I find the Falco and Sysdig combo a little more difficult.
Yeah, like all the config files. So this one actually makes more sense because it's a config file that is Kubernetes based that you can just go in and edit in Kubernetes to say, I want to check these, run the log output and see like if you're catching the specific thing. Like on the CKS, they say, hey, I want you to catch a file mount for like this specific thing, create a config file for it. It's like, okay, well, I can just look in the docs and find it and go. But with Falco, you had to know like where Falco was on the node, then create the config file and then put it on the node for Falco to see it, which it required a lot of knowledge about the application itself when it wasn't even a graduated project. Anyways, that's exactly. So this is actually a lot smoother.
Totally agree with you. This was a simple Helm install. Yes, a huge. I think the first thing I would do is I would trim that default madness that kicks off with everything doing stuff, and then I would go in and just create a policy. You know, like security. This file is open on this path. That would be a good test. Just this right here, and plus it's in as a tutorial. So that would be a great way to say, all right, then now show how you exploit this SSH exec into the container, try and open the file and see if it fires. Easy to test through automation. Boom. You've shown how you can monitor using Tracee way quicker.
Just more intuitive too. It's just more Kubernetes focused instead of, oh, I'm on the node and I have to create a random config file that I have never seen before. Right.
And this was Tracee's difficulty in Kubernetes last time I played with it. It was much more manual, and now they've designed it as a fit for Kubernetes project, which is pretty.
Maybe we have to check out Falco. Maybe they've made some changes too.
Well, that's true. Actually, I know. Well, we probably both know enough people working there. We could probably get somebody to come on here and do a Falco Sysdig demo. So, yet another tool time idea we've never done.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Any last thoughts on Tracee setup? What's changed? The random 0.17, even though it probably should be a 1.
Yeah. Tracee is very much raw materials for security. It's providing a lot of information. You still need to have a pretty seriously deep understanding of what an anomaly or misbehavior characterization as policy looks like, which is good that they provided so many out of the box. But you probably want to really work on better scoping so that you just don't get too much crazy happening all at once. So I think it's pretty good. And as I said, I found it simpler than the last time I tried other eBPF based monitoring tools within Kubernetes. And I can definitely see, depending on it, why Aqua made this and are using it within their commercial product, because it is definitely raw materials for something that could be
pretty powerful,
much bigger and much greater. And I agree with what you alluded to as well. It does have built-in integrations with Grafana and log parsing tools that if you were going to DIY this, there's enough there.
Yeah. This seems like one of those tools that's built for operations teams if you can hook it in, because there aren't a lot of teeth for security teams to really make it useful. So like I would want to, let's say the security team comes in, I get all the logs, I format them, and then I show the security team to say, here's what's happening, and just general, all the catches on the node, you tell me what we want to cut down on, and the operations team goes back and makes a change. To me, that seems like the the small to medium-sized business, that's the best use case for it, right?
Yep. Seems like a great solution for that.
Cool. All right, Bombshell in 2 weeks. We're gonna have another show in 2 weeks. I'll be doing Bombshell for the demo. Until then, again, all the links are in the description. I'm Mike Foster. He's Steve Shiger. Have a great weekend.